I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. The record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everybody. Hope you've been having a great summer so far. We are going to start tonight's board meeting with an invocation from Shelley Small from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for Hurst-Euless-Bedford. This is home, and I couldn't be more thankful for a place to grow up, a place to go to school, to get my education, to learn from the best, to have the best leadership. It's just obviously just formed my life, and I'm so thankful. Thank you for all of these people that make such big decisions for our staff and for the kids in HEB. I'm so thankful for their effort, their time, their commitment. Father, I just pray for that we'll welcome the challenges, Father, that come up this year. There will be challenges. There inevitably will be storms. And I just pray, Father, that you'll help us to just to look at those challenges and just to be positive and to just think about the fruits of the Spirit, Lord, as those challenges are met. Father, I just pray for just a foundation of love and joy and peace and patience and goodness and kindness, perseverance, Lord Jesus. I just pray for gentleness and self-control. Father, thank you for the staff of HEB. Thank you for the students. And as big decisions are made this year, I just pray for that prayer will be the first resource and not the last resort. Father, bless this school year. Let it be an incredible year for HEB staff and students and this board. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Small. And next we will do our Pledge of Allegiance, led by board member Rochelle Ross.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas Pledge. I pledge the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Ms. Ross. Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in a work session and its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on items included on the posted agenda. The Board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the Board. There will be two open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the Board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the Board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include any charges against any employee or the Board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if a person addressing the Board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The Board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on a table in the entry hall. All right, we are going to review the Board activity chart. I will start with Don Jordan Wells. Pass.
I have had fun this summer. I absolutely loved that we did the reading at summer school. I want us to keep doing that. I went to Trinity Lakes a couple weeks ago, and it was great to see all the littles in the library and read to them over the summer. I attended a lunch with Joe. It was North Texas Council of Governments. So that was interesting. Joe and I, we had a good time. We learned a lot, but we were like, how do we fit in? So, but it was good. went to last Friday the council PTA launch in Dallas, and it was great to spend time with Heather Peary, the council PTA president, and some of the leaders, just learning about what campuses need and how we can help plug in and help them. And attended the new professionals lunch today for all of our new teachers, which was a lot of fun to see the room just packed with people that were so excited about starting our school year. And did summer leadership with TASB, so that was a lot of fun too.
Ms. Cole?
All right, as well, I attended both summer leadership, and I want to thank everyone on this board for participating in our session on creating the secret sauce, 10 key ingredients to a high-functioning board. We've had lots of great feedback from that session, so y'all did a great job. I too read at all the 4 summer school campuses and had a great time. I spoke to the new and returning student ambassadors at their summer training. They asked me questions for 30 minutes. Everything from what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make on the school board to I can't even, there was just so many questions, but it was a really good amount of time with them. I attended a advocates event for Raise Your Hand Texas. I worked very closely with Matthew Hall and Missy Bender from Raise Your Hand Texas on our behalf this legislative session, so I attended that event that they had last week. Attended also the renamed Excellence in Leadership Luncheon and Awards, and I thought it was great. I love the changes. I love the new award, the way that it looks. I love the way sort of what the awards are given for changed a little bit in a couple of places, so I thought it was great. And then Dawn and I don't want to jump your gun, but you passed, so Dawn and I both had the time to attend the coaches' lunch with all the coaches in the district and shake a few hands and talk a little bit about upcoming plans, meet a few of the new ones. So although we've had some time off and not doing as much, it's picking right back up.
Mr. Campos? I'll pass. All right. Anything, Andy? I also attended SLI in Fort Worth, and I also had a chance to speak to a couple groups, representing the board in the last couple days. So last Tuesday, I was at the Leadership Symposium and got to say some words of welcome from the board to the principals and the district leadership. And then this morning, I was at the new professionals at their kickoffs and got to speak with Dr. Harrington and say some words of welcome there. So that's always fun to do. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
No, just wanted to, kind of summarize some of the things going on with our team with the ELT. We had symposium, we had nuts and bolts. So it was a great opportunity to get together with all of our leadership team. We had a really strong legislative update from the Texas School Alliance. So that really helped. We worked on a strategic plan, worked on some of our CI processes. The new professionals lunch today, I did want to point out, Texas Roadhouse out of Bedford provided that lunch, obviously free of charge. So great partner. They've been doing that for years. And then this year, Rita's Ice of Euless and Nothing But Cakes out of Hurst provided the desserts for all of our new professionals. So that really assists us when we have the local vendors who will take that on. So we appreciate that, and I wanted to thank them.
Yeah, thank you to them. Any clarifications?
None at this time.
All right. Open forum number 1, no cards. All right, we are going to skip past the first closed session. We will be going into closed session at the end of the meeting. So we are to consent items. Does any board member have any items they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? And I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. That's different. So the consent agenda passes. All right, we're ready for reports and presentations. Any questions on the disbursements for the month of June 2023? All right, 8.02, employments and resignations. Ms. Tuttle?
So at this time of year, I like to always give you an update because it changes every day. So it's gone down since Thursday. On Thursday, in the Thursday update, I told you we had 30 teacher openings, and we're down to 23. And so we are continuing to see those recommendations come in, and we're working as quickly as we can to get those hired. The other piece of information I always like to provide in this board meeting is, for your information, the number of folks who take advantage of our retirement reimbursement for early notification. So at this board meeting, I always like to give you those stats. And so we had 13 people who received the $5,000 maximum payment, and we had an additional 28 who received not that amount, but an amount for their local sick leave. So those are the two pieces of information I have for you on this item.
All right, thank you. Item 8.03, revisions to administrative regulations, DNA performance appraisal, evaluation of teachers.
So when we did our regulation workshop several months ago, we chose to not bring this particular policy forward because we knew we were going to be working on a change to our appraisal cycle for teachers and their eligibility to be on what the state refers to as a less than annual appraisal. So what you see here is a comprehensive revisions to this policy, which is actually a regulation and just it's an information item. But you will also see reference to the changes that we're making, and there's a little bit more information in that on the local policy item. Any questions?
Cicely, I should probably know this, but just a real quick question. Going back one, what does it mean moving from a dual contract?
Okay, great question. Our teacher coaches are on what's called a dual contract. And this means that they are equally employed as a teacher as they are as a coach. And that also means that they cannot give up one of those pieces of the contract without the other. So districts who have dual contracts are not at risk of a coach, for example, determining that maybe this is an area they don't want to work in anymore, and so they'll just teach, but they'll give up their coaching stipend and move on and let someone else fill that spot. So we have always valued that coaching relationship and responsibility and those duties, and so it's also a level of stability for them to know that they have a property right to that coaching stipend in the same manner that they have a property right to their salary. Great question.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Cicely. Well, you're staying up. We have 20 action items to get through, so let's start working on those. 9.02, consider approval of authorization signature for employment documents.
This is very simple. When we have new coordinators in the Human Resources Department, they have to be approved by the board to be an authorized TEA signature, and so it gives them the authority to sign things such as a service record or salary documents on behalf of the district.
All right, anybody have any questions? All right, this is an action item. I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve Jacqueline Hamila and Lizette Gonzalez as authorized representatives to sign employment documents as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, for the board to approve Jacqueline Hamila and Lizette Gonzalez as authorized representatives to sign employment documents as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of the 2023-2024 HEB ISD Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System, TTES appraisal calendar.
I don't have anything to go over on this document, but just to let you know that we have appraisal calendars for all employee groups. It's just that because this particular one is associated with the commissioner's rules, it is required to be approved by the board.
Any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the Board of Trustees approve the 2023-2024 HEB ISD Teacher Appraisal Calendar as submitted.
I have a motion and a second for the Board of Trustees to approve the 2023-2024 HEB ISD Teacher Appraisal Calendar as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Item 9.04, approval of the T-test appraiser list.
And so this item is for us to provide a list of those who are certified as T-test appraisers or will be before the appraisal window opens. And just for your information, this would be utilized were there to be a teacher who requested a second appraisal. And this is something that teachers do have a right to do. And so we would work with the elementary administration and secondary administration to select someone from this list to give an unbiased second appraisal to a teacher.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the 2023-2024 HEB ISD T-test appraiser list as submitted.
I have a motion and a second for the Board of Trustees to approve the 2023-2024 HEB ISD T-test appraiser list as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of update of the 2023-2024 staffing table, new units.
And so tonight, we are asking you for a 0.5 speech-language pathologist to add to an existing 0.5 unit that we're having a time filling, and this will replace a part-time unit. And then we're also asking for you to allow us to add one district hardware repair tech. And this is cost neutral, as I indicated on the report, because it is as part of a reorg where we're collapsing some units within the technology department. And then we're adding one maintenance 3 controls technician so that we can have a specialist to handle all things related to controls for HVAC and other pieces within the district. And then also, every year at this time, our board has authorized us to add 5 potential units for teachers that we would, of course, update you on at each consecutive or subsequent board meeting if we needed to actually use one of these. But it allows us, should there be enrollment needs or program changes that need to happen, it allows us to go ahead and get those posted without waiting for a board meeting. So that's what the 5 teacher units are. Any questions?
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the new units as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the new units as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of revisions to board policy DNA local performance appraisal evaluation of teachers.
So we are very excited about this change and this opportunity for both administrators and teachers. And this is being changed completely as a way to address employee well-being. It's something that statute allows within certain if certain requirements are met. And so we are this year going to be moving some of our teachers to that alternate appraisal cycle. And just to give you very, very high view of this, in order to be eligible, a teacher must be on a term contract with the district. The teacher must be fully certified in the area, of course, that they are teaching in. And then also, there is some language in statute, which you could find in our legal policy, that outlines some of the requirements, such as having 9 of 16 of the T-test dimensions, having a rating of proficient or higher, having no documented performance concerns, or having any improvements needed. And so I want you all to know that we're working with campus administrators to roll this out this year, but what we're doing in this first year, after a lot of input from other districts who didn't do this, is we're trying to take a balanced approach, meaning balancing the school years so that we don't inadvertently set up a system where one year there are a lot of appraisals and one year there is not. So if someone is eligible, then there will be an A through L and M through Z appraisal cycle that they're given, and we'll utilize that to ensure balance in the appraisal load for our administrators. It is important for you to know that all teachers will continue to have a minimum of 2 documented walkthroughs, whether they're on the appraisal cycle for this year or not, and that also will allow us to provide them with the feedback they deserve. But we are very excited about the time that this is going to allow teachers and administrators to focus on instructional leadership and meaningful conversations with staff and the time to have those. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? See some celebration in the audience. All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the revisions to board policy DNA local as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the revisions to board policy DNA local as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. Thank you, Cicely. All right, now we are ready for financial statements. Mr. Williams.
All righty, I think I get the next 6 items. So we will start with the financial statements for the month ended May 31st, 2023. The general fund, we had a fund balance of $212,248,711. That represents revenues over expenditures of $50,621,346. And of course, our investments continue to do well. For May, you were looking at $4,706,761 compared to $439,000 and some change last year. So significant improvement, and it's really helping us out this year with the way our enrollment and attendance kind of ended up. So it's gonna make a big difference. Total expenditures as of 5/31 were at 69.50%, and of course you can see up in that corner up there at 9/12 of the year, 3/4 of the year, 75% is where we should be. So we're a little below that. So fund is doing very well. The general fund expenditure matrix, payroll running $124,662,374 for the period. We're getting close to that 87% we generally land at, but we're not quite there yet, but we should be there by the end of the year. Utilities, the second highest expense was at $3,118,133 or 2%, and instructional supplies, the third largest expense, at $2,064,789 or 1%. Child Nutrition Fund, fund balance of $11,209,859. That represents revenues over expenditures of $2,802,881. I might add that you keep in mind this year we replaced a lot of serving lines and spent about $5 million of that fund balance. So Child Nutrition's still doing really well. They did operate at a deficit as far as employees last year, which we talk about every meeting. I'm happy to report so far this year, she's whittling down on that number. We were at, what did I tell you this morning, Joe? 15, I think. I think it was 15. We're only down 15. Of course, that might change before school starts, but we will see. It was running about 30, 33 last year. Yeah, so anyway. Total expenditures as of 5/31 were at 69.09%, and of course, that's under the 75% threshold also. So, fund doing quite well. Debt service fund, that has a fund balance of $53,498,62. That represents revenues over expenditures of $37,225,995. Of course, the interest income is helping us with that fund as well. We paid our first debt payments back in February, and we will pay our last debt payment for the year next month in August. And we are getting ready to defease. I'm getting ready to send through I've been working with George Williford and our bond attorney to get the paperwork ready to defease. It's going to be just a hair under $5 million worth of bonds, which will save us. And I'll probably bring you back a report on that once I get that, so we can see how much interest we saved on that. And so that's a good deal. Pre-K, CK, fund balance of $415,092. That's revenues over expenditures of $329,670. As of the end of May, we had received 106.44% of the budgeted revenue for the year. And total expenditures at that time were 72.32%, so still under our 75% threshold. Program doing well. Special revenue funds, expenditures as of 5/31 were at 47.27, but as you know, those many different special revenue funds and those cross over many years, so that number's really kind of skewed when you look at it compared to the 75% threshold. But overall, those funds are tracking just as they're supposed to be doing. So, campus activity fund, $3,583,396. That represents revenues over expenditures of $809,659. That'll probably change a little bit as some of those trips and different things they do at the end of the year and over the summer. That's going to impact that in the next report. So, but that fund is performing as expected also. The 2018 bond fund, fund balance of $14,507,875. So you can see we're whittling that down with the Bel Air project. That represents expenditures over revenue of $9,972,462. And the investment interest, again, on this fund continues to inject some capital in there that helps us out. So $635,504 compared to $25,321 in May. And that's with a lower fund balance. So. And of course, the remainder of those funds, we are spending those down on the Bel Air project. And then technology, I think, still has a little bit of money left from the 2018 bonds. And then the possible bond, of course, we're using that fund to track the expenditures. As we prepare for that bond, currently that fund balance is $998,217. And of course, that's expenditures over revenue, because we have no revenue with that fund yet, of $943,617. And the locally defined capital projects fund balance of $57,053,302. That represents expenditures over revenues of $1,745,017. And that, of course, that's the other part of the Bel Air project, which we haven't started dipping into this fund yet until we spend down the rest of the bond funds. But then once those are gone, we will start dipping into here for the rest of the Bel Air project, finishing up the admin building back here, the annex, safety and security additions we talked about, Trinity and LD Bell, baseball, softball, all of those different things we looked at throughout the year. So, I think that's about it. Any questions?
Dobie, I have a dumb question. I'm just full of them today. Possible bond series 2024, where does that money come from until a bond is called? Does that $1 million come out of general fund?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's money we're spending out of general fund, and then we'll reimburse
Reimburse
it
later. Okay.
once we get to that point, hopefully. When that passes, if it passes.
I like when.
When?
Any other questions? All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the financial statements for May 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the financial statements for May 2023. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, we're ready for budget transfers and amendments.
Okay, you can see, I can't see, but maybe you can see. We do have some proposed budget transfers that are minuscule in that first green column there, that are just typical type transfers. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Typical type transfers for the month. The second green column, you'll notice are a little bit larger numbers. Those are budget amendments to account for the what-if money that we've approved some expenditures, as we've done in the past, for projects that basically this money comes from our SHARS income. So we take some of that SHARS income and we do some projects that we look through and approve, and that totals, and you'll see on the revenue and the expenditure side, $580,000 is what that amendment is for. Any questions on that?
Any questions? And I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the budget transfer and amendment request for July 2023 as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the budget transfer and amendment request for July 2023 as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Quarterly investment report for quarter ending May 2023.
Okay, the investment report is there for your review. As we stated earlier, we are doing better than we have done in many years on investments, running a little over 4% average revenue on that, so it's making a huge difference in several of our funds. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Any questions on the quarterly investment report? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending May 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending May 2023. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of school lunch meal price at elementary school and secondary campuses.
Okay, this is from Child Nutrition. As you know, every year we look at our meal prices, and basically what we have to do is we can't let it get to a spot to where our free and reduced meals are funding our paid meals in any way. So they have a calculation they run through, Mariella runs through, and it's a 3-year average, and we don't necessarily have to, they run that out. I think we should be at around 356 according to their calculation. We don't have to jump all the way up there, but we are required to go up a minimum of 10 cents just to try to get closer to that number per USDA guidelines. So that's what we're requesting.
Any questions on school lunch prices? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the recommendation to increase the 2023-2024 school lunch meal prices at the elementary campuses from $3.10 to $3.20, and the secondary campuses from $3.45 to $3.55 to comply with federal guidelines.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the recommendation to increase the 2023-2024 school lunch meal prices at the elementary campuses from $3.10 to $3.20, at the secondary campuses from $3.45 to $3.55 to comply with federal guidelines. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of engagement letter for independent audit.
Okay, this is a request to engage Weaver and Tidwell, our current auditors, for the current fiscal year, which will end next month, fiscal year 2023. They continue to do a really good job. They work well with the district, so we are asking that we approve them to do the current fiscal year as well.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the engagement letter with Weaver and Tidwell LLP for the audit of the basic financial statements of the district as of and for the year ended August 31st, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the engagement letter with Weaver and Tidwell LLP for the audit of the basic financial statements of the district as of and for the year ending August 31st, 2023. Please vote. That motion passes. 9.12, consider approval of designation of officer to calculate and prepare tax rate. Mr. Williams?
Okay, this is just more of a formality than anything. I don't think we used to do this. I know I never did this in prior districts, but last year I did it here, which I designated myself as that officer to prepare the tax rate. But in talking to other districts this year and getting some input from those guys, and the tax assessor collector offers to do this for us at no cost. So at a minimum, I think that's probably a good idea. Just that puts another set of eyes on it, because I assure you, I'm still going to check their calculations and make sure they're doing it right. Anyway, that's I think that, and we all know pretty much who sets our tax rates anymore anyway. So it's just going to save us a little bit of work, and then. I say it well. I'm still going to check up on them. We're going to see how that goes this year. Let them put their name on the bottom line as to certifying those rates.
Yeah, at least give you a check.
Yeah.
All right, any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board designate Tarrant County Tax Assessor Collector as the authorized officer to calculate the 2023-2024 no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the taxing unit.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to designate Texas County Tax Appraiser Collector as the authorized officer to calculate the 2023-2024 no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the taxing entity, or for the taxing unit. Please vote. And that motion passes. 9.13, consider approval of RFQ 23-15 for two-way radios. Mr. Kerbo.
All right, well, this is the first of 6 items I have for you, so.
I get to feel like it's a competition between y'all.
Oh, no.
Conrad only has
issued-
one, so.
So we issued a request for quote to purchase 2,000 two-way radios as part of the Safety and Security Initiative that was presented last year and approved for us to proceed with. And background information was provided to you in your Friday update. And there's no additional information, so just be here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, are there any questions on the two-way radio purchase?
They'll go to all the campuses as needed, and it's for inter-campus communication.
Administrators or counselors, or who's involved in that?
It'll be whoever's needed, yeah, whoever needs those.
Every teacher in my school.
It's, the goals for all staff
Yeah.
on a campus to have it.
All right, any other questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the purchase of 2,000 two-way radios from Aerowave Technologies as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the purchase of 2,000 two-way radios from Aerowave Technologies as presented. Please vote.
I'm ready the first day of school with those, it's gonna be fun. I can see it right now.
How long will it take to get them?
Estimated arrival date is November. There's backlog like lots of other items.
So should have them for the spring semester. That motion passes. Consider approval of RFP 20-04 for armored car services renewal.
This is the final year for this agreement to be in place for providing secured armor transport from campuses and facilities for daily deposits and in conjunction with events that are held after hours and so forth. So this is the final year for this.
Any questions on the armored car services? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the extension of RFP number 20-04 for armored car services for the final year of this agreement from August 1, 2023 through July 31, 2024 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the extension of RFP number 20-04 for armored car services for the final year of this agreement from August 1, 2023 through July 31, 2024 as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 9.15, consider approval of RFP 19-15F catering and snack services supplemental.
Well, this is the bid that keeps on giving. This is our A, B, C, D, E, sixth supplemental bid to an existing bid that was issued and approved in 2019. And the purpose of this is to continue to broaden our net, to add local vendors to meet all of our catering needs. And I'll give you a preview of coming attractions. There'll be another one in August, too.
All right, any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the supplemental list of vendors for catering and snack services as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve supplemental list of vendors for catering and snack services as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. Consider approval of renewal of CSP 21-06 Child Nutrition Services Produce Online.
This is a renewal of our bid for our child nutrition department to be able to purchase produce for use in our food service program.
What does the online mean?
I'm sorry?
What does the online mean? When I read through this, I was like, I don't understand what the online means. Service Produce Online.
Brief explanation. The bid was conducted online through our e-bid system, so that's how it was labeled when they identified it. I was thrown for a loop as well. Why are we doing produce online? Are we tweeting fruits and vegetables to the campuses? But no, that's what it is. So.
Mixing.
All right. Any questions? Then I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the renewal of CSP 21-06 for child nutrition services to R. Craig Stevens Produce LLC to provide produce online for the Child Nutrition Services Program.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the renewal of CSP 21-06 for child nutrition services to R. Craig Stevens Produce LLC to provide produce online for the Child Nutrition Services Program. Please vote. And that motion passes. 9.17, consider approval of Power School renewals 2023-2024.
Okay, you have a list of modules in Power School that are used for various operational needs within the district, and you can see them all listed there at a renewed cost of $416,096.55, and the prices there are broken down for you. So no change as far as what we're presenting. This is just renewal pricing for this year.
Any questions? And I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the renewal of Power School application licenses as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the renewal of Power School application licenses as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of updated master interlocal agreement with Region 10 ESC.
Mr. Romero, I promise this may not be the only remaining interlocal for you to sign, but this will be for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Amidst all of our activity, the last two meetings, I believe it was, we thought we had them all. And in the course of follow-up, we've noticed this one got away from us. So this will just update our existing master interlocal agreement with Region 10 so that we continue to take advantage of those cooperative contracts that are available.
All right. Any questions on this interlocal agreement? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the updated master interlocal agreement with Region 10 ESC as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the updated master interlocal agreement with Region 10 ESC as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Kerbo. We are down to 9.19, consider approval of school resource officer contracts for 2023-2024.
Yes, sir, and prior to that, I just want to apologize, Ms. Cole. I knew my eyes were going bad. I didn't realize my hearing was going bad, so I think I missed a question that you asked earlier this evening about the award ceremony, so I just wanted to apologize for that. The contract.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
My memory's going bad.
Oh, well, okay, I thought maybe I missed a question. I just wanted to say if I had missed it, I apologize, that's all. So the contract is similar to what we've done. It is including the three new SROs that will be for the elementary campuses. There is an increase this year as they have, all three departments and cities have looked at that, and so it'll be closer to just over $95,000 this year compared to what we've done in the past. But again, that's the going rate. And so if you have any additional questions, that's for 1,424 hours, and that also allows our principals to request an additional 192 hours for other duties that might be needed.
Any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the 2023-2024 school resource officers contracts as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the 2023-2024 school resource officers contracts as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 9.20, consider approval of international student travel.
I have that as well. If you have any questions, this is for a trip to Taiwan for next summer. It's 20 students.
So this is our first Chinese trip in quite a while, isn't it?
Quite a while, yes, sir. And pretty excited about it.
All right, any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the international student travel as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the international student travel as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. 9.21, consider approval of organizations listed as extracurricular activities under 19 TAC, Texas Administrative Code.
Yes, sir, and this is the standard list that you all look at every year as well.
There's no changes?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the organizations listed as extracurricular activities under 19 TAC as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the organizations listed as extracurricular activities under 19 TAC as presented. Please vote.
Conrad, I do have a question. Back in the old days, I think kids could get PE credit outside of school if they submitted. Is that still true?
We still have that list of approved where there are exceptions that they can do to have PE outside of the normal school.
So is there, I had a couple of parents ask me, is there a form they fill out or they just call you?
Let me confirm that with Brandon. Typically, there's a form they take to wherever they're doing the external PE and that's submitted, but I can get you that exact information.
Okay, thank you.
I think,
Yeah, my daughter
Fielder.
did it with swimming.
I think
Yes.
Fielder has, yeah.
I mean, if they're playing field hockey somewhere and they're probably getting more exercise they are in the PE class, you can understand that.
Yeah, and I'll check with Mike for us.
Okay.
All right, and that motion passed. And we got through all 20 of them, so good job, team.
And I think I now remember what you were saying, that there was a contest about how many that they each
Oh,
had.
yeah.
Conrad didn't have as many. That's what you were talking about. I got it now. It went over my
Right
head.
over my head, too.
All right, we're to other business. Opportunity for board members to request items to be placed on future board agendas.
Yes, I have one.
Okay?
Mike Harris's last day at Trinity, since I hired him as assistant principal, I went to thank him for what he did at Trinity and what he did for me when he was assistant principal. While in his office, I saw on the table blueprints for the new school. And I looked at him, I said, I haven't seen these. And he said, well, we've had them for a while. And I said, when did you get the first one? He said, February. I said, you got these in February? I said, I don't know if the board's looked at them at all. So I would like to request that an architect comes, and I would like my own copy so I can take it home, since I don't have a computer. And so I can look at the plans, and I want to know, when that architects come, what changes have they made since February, since they were drawn? And I've known some changes they made, by the way. I want to know all the changes they made from February to now. And I know one example, and I don't know if there's other examples. I want to know what they've changed. And you know, it's kind of funny, if we voted today on the bond, I'd vote no, just for lack of knowledge. I mean, we've seen pictures. Have y'all seen blueprints? They've had them since February. So I wonder why the architects,
Working drafts, right? They're working
No
drafts.
blueprints.
well,
It's not blueprints.
Those are
probably, but-
blueprints.
Well, that's what they're working on, and
Schematics.
that's what they're gonna finalize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't go into blueprints until you had an actual bond
Well,
passed.
it shows all the classrooms and all the halls and everything.
So
An
schematically.
example, I'll give you an old example. It's at Trinity, where all the assistant principals are and the attendance clerks. When that was built, there was no custodial closet. Okay, so for them to clean up a mess, they have to get a bucket and a mop. They gotta get on the elevator, they gotta go up the elevator to the first floor, they gotta go all the way down to the middle floor, where there's a custodial closet and a custodial sink to fill the bucket, to go back down to where the attendance office is. Now, if they're working from these, I like to look at them to make sure some mistakes that I've known been made in the past, they can address before they say, here's the final product.
And the final product will be well after the bond is passed. That's
Yes.
not, yeah. So
But this
they'll-
this is what they're working from. And I'd just like to know their ideals of what they're considering and what are the changes they've changed since they've looked at them. They've had 6 months.
Okay, what's the actual agenda item that you want to have? added
I
to
want the
agenda?
architect to come and explain what changes have been made from February till now on what they decided to do with the
Do
plans.
we have a set of plans from February that we can look at so we
What
can see the changes?
Well, the principals do.
Yeah.
They have the floor plan and everything, where all the rooms, restrooms are, the hallways, it's a schematic. And I'd just like to look at where they started and where they are now. We're 6 months into it. And all I know is a picture.
Yeah,
I
well,
saw pictures
I don't know
of-
what they have, I don't know what's been produced, so I don't know what agenda item we want to add. Do we want to have a report from the architects?
On what they've started with and what they've changed in 6 months. That they've talked to teachers, they've talked to administrators, and they had a plan. What did the principals, what did the kids, what did they change in the original plan till now?
After the meetings, you're saying?
Yeah, they've been meeting with
Since our
everybody.
last update that we had with them, when we had a meeting to
Well,
to
they
get
didn't tell us
updates from
about the update that I know about.
I'm just a little, we can easily get an update. I'm concerned about the changes. I think they'll anecdotally know the changes, but nothing's been finalized. So the plans are going to
Still a working
continue
draft.
to evolve. But I mean, we can,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
no, what I'm saying is, we can get an update as to here's what we have now, and I'm sure anecdotally, we can move through, here are some of the changes. I just don't know how they track those.
Yes, well, I want to see the schematics now.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a way to get that? I mean, I don't know who I'm talking to, so.
Well, I can go to Trinity and I just copy them. You know,
That sounds like the easiest thing to do, Andy.
well, but, you know, it seems like for 70 million, they ought to come, at least come to a meeting.
Yep. And they've said they'll come as needed, and if we need them to come and give an update, that'd be fine. We will do an update this week, or the next meeting anyways, but we can definitely have them come and discuss the schematics and the state of the schematics.
All right,
Great.
so that's the agenda item. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All right, any other items for future agendas? All right, 10.02, consider approval of Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members membership. Let's see. HEBISD's board operating procedure states under work of the board, each board agenda will include oh, wait, this is,
You're on the wrong thing.
yeah, sorry, wrong one.
Yeah.
All right, so,
All associations we've got to vote on, so.
yeah, anybody have any questions on this?
No.
All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the membership of Don Jordan Wells to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members at the cost of $50 to be taken from the board's budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the membership of Don Jordan Wells to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members at the cost of $50 to be taken from the board's budget. Please vote. That motion passes.
Thank you, Dawn, for continuing to represent HEB on that.
Thank you for going to the casino
I
night
know,
to
we have
support.
fun going to their casino night.
Help raise funds.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, item 10.03, Board Goal Team 1 update, review of HEB School Board Operating Procedures, revisions.
So I'll speak to this at a high level, and then Julie will back me up with some of the specifics here. But our goal team, Julie and my goal team, was tasked with looking at the operating procedures and revising them as necessary. So when we formed the team, we brought it to the board, solicited input. Joe and Lydia met, I think, and solicited input and brought it to our goal team. And then Joe, Lydia, Julie, and myself sat down on 2 separate occasions. And Lydia walked us through the operating procedures, and her goal as kind of our continuous improvement leader was to use some quality tools to look at the operating procedures and try to revise them. And I told Lydia that my favorite quality tool for these operating procedures was a red ballpoint pen, which we used extensively to revise these. As you'll see as you go through these, there's a bunch of red lines. So red lines represent changes to existing language. Blue lines represent new language, and then there's some yellow highlighted portions. What I think would be helpful to go through as you walk through this, we're not going to vote on this tonight, but spend some time with it and read through some of the red lines. From a high level, a lot of this is trying to clean up language, clean up some superfluous language that just wasn't necessary, some whole sections that just really didn't need to be housed in the board operating procedures, and then some just to bring in line with what we're actually doing as a district and as a board, day to day, different things, and have revised language to reflect that. Let's see. So Julie and I met twice with Joe and Lydia, and this is the document that we came up with. And I'll turn it over to you, Julie, if you want to talk about some specifics.
Other than those, just sort of changes in wording and verbiage, there's a couple things I want to point out. On page 1, in the overview, we moved the theories of action, which had been placed towards the back, to the front under overview, because those are, sort of the non-negotiables of how we decided we want our district to sort of behave and do. So that's a big movement I wanted to point out. The other 2 things are really changes in the way we are actually operating on a couple of things. On page 15, under board operations, board member officer elections, because we wanted to, a couple of years ago, ensure that we were not out of compliance for having, sort of a walking quorum, we made ourselves accountable to not talking about, outside of the committee, not talking about the board officer positions amongst each other. And we want to continue to do that. We want to, do the right thing. But what it did, some folks on this board gave feedback that it didn't allow everyone to sort of have a voice in that process. So you'll notice under board member elections A, we decided that during the April work session, there would be a procedure for soliciting interest from all board members. So you would be able to say, I'm interested or not interested in this position or that position, to the board as a whole, and have an opportunity for the president to facilitate some conversation. Then when that committee is chosen later, they're informed, and they don't feel the need to go back and talk to people.
See, that's interesting, because when I read this, I must have missed that whole blue part, because I read the second blue part, was like, why aren't you able to speak to other board members? I was so confused by
Because
that.
we don't want to have a walking quorum. So this enables us to have the conversation in our public meeting, which is appropriate, and then have the committee discuss what to do from there.
Will the committee call every board member, ask?
No, that discussion's going to happen in that meeting here.
Can't do that, yeah. Because that's what creates the walking quorum.
Yes.
So we're gonna vote when we discuss?
No, you just discussed.
No, so we'll discuss in April, then we'll form the committee, and then we'll vote in May, after we've had the discussion and the committee has met.
So the committee will take the discussion.
Yes.
And who is interested in which of the 3 positions, and then bring a slate forward for
That's
that.
right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So the committee is still choosing.
The committee is still choosing, but they're doing that after they've heard from everybody what their interests are, and if there's somebody who's adamant that they want, you know, they really want person A for a particular position, we'll have that opportunity to have that discussion.
I like that.
Yeah, so the committee's putting forward a slate. If you don't agree with the slate, you always have the opportunity as a board member, you know, under Robert's rules to offer up a different slate or a different.
Just wanted to vote. That's all I want.
Yeah. So all of this is taking place.
Get to vote last time.
Yeah.
Just wanted to vote.
So this gives you that, Andy. You get to have a conversation.
we
You
all-
get to say whether or not you want to serve as an officer, and then the committee will still make that decision.
I like that idea.
Yeah, but
It saves the time of the committee calling
I'm
people.
confused. Okay, I'm not running next year. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to run. But I may not get a call who I want to vote for.
You will, because you'll have that conversation.
You're gonna have the conversation
You have
here.
all the input you want to provide.
If you decide you want Fred to be the secretary, and you want all of us to know that you want Fred to be the secretary, you're going to be able to tell us that during that conversation.
I like that idea.
But even, I mean, we all voted on the slate, right? So you did have a vote because we all voted on the slate. If you didn't agree with the slate, that would have been your time to say, no, I think it should be this person, this person, this person.
But I do think, I hear you, Andy, because I felt a little like we weren't able to have a conversation about it. And how would the committee even know who wanted what? And we can't go back and call people because that's a walking quorum. So,
During the discussion, I can say, well, I don't want Don as president.
Right, exactly.
well, you could say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to discuss.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't want her, or him, I want this guy.
Right.
That's what we
Yeah.
discussed.
and last year
Absolutely.
we went around and everyone said if they were interested in a position, but we didn't say, oh, I want this person and not that person, so.
Yeah, if we would just expand the discussion,
I just hurt because I didn't get a call.
and it's part of the process.
Didn't get a call. Well,
And you
that's what
won't get a
he's
call
talking
going
about.
forward.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what he's talking about.
Because that's against the law.
Yeah.
So.
I got it now.
Okay,
I like that change, because as chair of that committee this year, I had a conversation with both of you, and I was like, I'm
What do I
chairing this,
do?
but I feel a little weird that I didn't get to hear from
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
And then, even when we ended up as the same officers, I thought, is this the true
yeah,
wish of the board? So
Yeah.
I like that change a lot.
good, okay.
I mean, you know, it's the wish of the board because the whole board votes on the slate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
that's the point of the vote.
That's right.
So, I mean, we put together a committee because we give the committee, I mean, it's literally luck of the draw, right? We're drawing sticks and you get to be on the committee. So,
Yes,
but,
but this just allows us to vocalize.
Formalizes it.
Yeah.
Good
Okay,
listening, Julie.
yeah, thank you. And then on page 25 in Addendum E, which is about board travel procedures, we had some extensive conversation about this, but you'll see on the fourth bullet, square bullet at the top, we made a change, and instead of not reimbursing for travel within the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we changed that to Tarrant County. There was a lot of conversation about conferences in Dallas and how cumbersome and difficult that is when you're driving in and out every day. Besides the fact that when, you know, that we reimburse for the mileage of that, it really is sort of a wash most of the time, to just let people stay there if they choose to. Now, it is not a requirement to stay, if a conference is in Dallas for a board member, but we changed it to just be Tarrant County. And those are the main ones I wanted to point out. And I'm sure, Dawn, I'm counting on you to find some grammar and spelling issues. But other than that, those are the highlights.
all right, any questions for the committee?
That's a lot of work, y'all. Thank you.
I
for
think
doing
it's
that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I mean, that was one of the first things that I did when I got on the board is work on this a little.
Yep.
And, I mean, it's been a piecemealed
Yep.
project ever since it began before we were on the board. And it's just kind of been added to and added to and added to. So it really was time for a complete overhaul and
Yeah.
get things in the right place and fix all all the wording and all the specific out-of-date examples and all that kind of stuff. And so thanks for all the hard work. All right, open forum number 2, no cards. Then at this time, the board will adjourn into closed session. Pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071 to 551.076.